Okay, so you flagged something really interesting for us today. It's about these upcoming tax deadlines. South Korean retail investors, right?
It's quite specific to South Korea, obviously, but the underlying issues. They touch on things relevant to anyone investing overseas.
Like global investing and, well, taxes, things we all love.
Exactly. And we've got some source info here just outlining the key deadlines and who really needs to pay attention.
All right, let's break it down. The core issue seems to be South Korean investors, people who made decent gains on foreign stocks.
Gains over a certain threshold.
Right, and also folks who maybe sold other big assets last year but didn't do a preliminary report.
Precisely. They're all facing this capital gains tax deadline pretty soon, in early June.
Gotcha. So who exactly is getting these notices? Is it a huge group?
Well, the estimates are around 140,000 taxpayers receiving final notices. And like you said, it's important to stress it's not just the stock investors.
It includes others too.
Yes, people who sold, say, real estate or other significant assets last year and hadn't reported it earlier.
Okay, capital gains tax. We hear the term, but let's clarify. What is it, basically?
Simply put, it's just tax on the profit you make when you sell an asset. You buy low, sell high. The difference, the profit, might be taxed.
Applies to things like property, stocks.
Stocks, derivatives, related rights. But, and this is key, no profit. Or if you actually lost money.
Then no tax.
Then no capital gains tax applies. That's right.
Now, here's something that sounds really useful, this idea that losses can offset gains. How does that actually work?
Yes. This is a really important strategy. So imagine you made money on one stock, but lost money on another, all within the same tax year.
Okay.
You can often use that loss to reduce the taxable profit from your winning investment. It's about the overall picture for the year.
Oh, interesting. So a loss isn't necessarily just, bad news. It could actually help lower your taxes.
It potentially can, yes. It's a silver lining, maybe. And we're seeing more people needing to know this because, well, individual investing in foreign markets is really growing.
Yeah, that makes sense. More global investing means more people bumping up against these kinds of rules.
Exactly. The pool of people needing to report this stuff gets bigger each year.
So how do people actually get the heads up? How are they notified?
The main way now is mobile notifications, alerts on your phone.
Makes sense. Quick and easy.
But they also recognize maybe some older individuals, particularly those selling property, might not be glued to their phones for tax info. So postal notices are still being sent out too.
Okay, a mix then.
Yeah.
Digital and paper. What about filing? How do people actually submit the reports?
Electronically is usually easiest through the official tax service website or their app.
Standard stuff.
Yeah. But you can still use paper forms. Pick them up, fill them out, take them to a local tax office.
And what if you mess up or need to add something?
Good point. Yeah. You can actually submit more than once. They just take the very last version you submitted before the deadline as the official one.
That's handy. Allows for corrections. Okay, payment time. Is it one lump sum or are there options?
If the tax you owe is over a certain amount, there's generally an option to pay in 2 installments.
Oh, okay. Split it up.
Yes. But there are specific rules about how much you pay in each installment and the timing. So you need to look into those details if you owe a larger amount.
Right. Now, this seems really important. What if someone didn't get a notice, but they know they had taxable gains?
Yeah, this is critical. Even without a specific notification, if you had taxable gains from foreign stocks or unretorted real estate sales, the responsibility to file is still yours.
So you can't just wait for the letter. You have to be proactive.
Exactly. You need to be aware of your own situation, and keeping good records helps a lot.
Like broker statements?
Broker statements, real estate contracts.
Yeah.
Having that documentation makes filling out the reports much, much easier.
Okay, makes sense. Let's talk consequences. What happens if you, just don't file or miss the deadline?
Not recommended. There are penalties, surcharges on the tax you should have paid.
Ouch.
And interest on top of that for late payment. The tax office definitely looks out for non-compliance.
So best to avoid that. Now, one other thing mentioned was people getting a notice even after they'd already filed. That sounds confusing.
It can be, yeah. It's usually just a timing thing. You file, but the notice system had already generated your letter before your filing was processed.
So if you know you've already filed correctly,
then the advice is basically just treat that notice as informational, like a confirmation almost. No need to panic or file again if you're sure you did it right.
Okay, got it. So wrapping this up, what's the main takeaway for you, the listener, even if you're not investing from South Korea?
I think the big picture here is just awareness. Awareness of capital gains tax, especially when assets or investments cross borders. Understand your obligations.
Know the deadlines, the reporting options.
Right. And definitely understand how things like offsetting losses work. It could save you money. It's about being an informed investor wherever you are.
And maybe that leaves you with a final thought. Take a look at your own situation, your investments, any assets you might sell. Do you know the tax implications where you are? It really pays to be informed.